Can you?
All right. Hello and hi, everybody. Welcome to our 21st Agile with Ukraine meetup. Today we have Anna Radzikowska, great speaker, great Kanban practitioner. If I'm not mistaken, Anna, you also did a lot of work on Kanban Maturity Model, right?
Yes, actually, I did. Thank you very much. I will tell you about KMM in a second. So first, the stage is yours, and
Yeah.
then it will be mine.
Yeah, sure. So we are very, very glad to have Anna here today. Anna will share some insights of what Scrum Masters can learn from using Kanban method. So as a practitioner myself, who for the last, I believe, 4 years have been using also Kanban method heavily in Scrum implementations, I would say that I'm also thrilled to hear a lot about this topic. So for those who are joining us for the first time, the first 10 to 15 minutes of our meetup is dedicated to Ukraine because we have three goals in Agile with Ukraine. First one is to raise awareness about what is happening in Ukraine currently. Second one is to connect people who are striving to learn new things with world's best practitioners. And third one is to raise money for Ukraine, and all of the money that we're going to raise here today will go to the United Foundation. And all of those money will be well spent to help Ukrainian people in Ukrainian army. So Artem, let's start.
Yeah, we're competing with a beautiful weather and the other educational events, so we will not take too much time sharing the nightmare what was here during the last months. Is just a few pictures not updated from last time, because to say the truth, it take too much energy to look through these pictures every day and then also upload them and talk about them. But just to remind to those who are here for the first time what we've gone through. Many cities are ruined. Many achievements of our people and civilization are ruined. Many civilians are struggling because their houses are ruined. And it's not a fight for Ukrainian language or for Ukrainian dignity. It's a fight for humanity between two different mindset of civilizations, and somehow one of them are still somewhere in medieval, and others are fighting for their like right to stay on their land and live their life normally as it was before. And that's why we, together with Andrei and a few more folks, decide to organize this series of meetups and now also workshops for people to give you some understanding of what's going on and some connection with best practitioners from all over the world, because Ukrainians is kind of very courageous and committed people, and then they do prefer to do something instead of just sitting and waiting for someone who will come and fix everything for us. So these people are cleaning up their streets after Russian military was pushed out from the Kiev region. This young man is drawing nice pictures to support the army and people of Ukraine and continue developing his talent. Even he is 11 years old and he is originally from Bucha. And these software developers are sitting in shelters, hiding from bombs, missiles, and shells, but they continue to work and deliver value and software to their customers because they feel responsibility and commitment, and that's how we usually do our things, and we will continue to do it. Yeah, and we are located in very danger place because of our neighborhoods, and we are almost in the middle of Europe, and it's not so far from the whole Europe. And the fight now is here. We are kind of a Winterfell, and there is a wall, but not so high as we wanted. So please continue support our army so they can protect the whole world from what is potentially could be after if we will fall. But we are not planning to fall. We are planning to push them back and bring back peace on this lands and on the planet. And as Andrei said, we are helping foundations. Previously, we were working mostly with one foundation. It's Uniters, and Andrei will tell more about them. But quite soon we will announce a second partnership with guys who are located in Ukraine and organized by top product managers from many different IT SaaS companies. So you can choose whatever do you prefer to invest your donations into Uniters or Colo. But now let's focus on Uniters because this webinar will be collecting money for these guys and girls. Andrei, please.
Yeah, sure. So in first months when there were a lot of initiatives to help or how to help, I reached out to people whom I know from 2014. And maybe for those who don't know, so the full-scale war has started on the 24th of February 2022, but the first Russian invasion has started on the 2014. And it started by annexing the Crimea and also in Donbas region. So we were fighting since 2014. It's been 8 years, and 8 years after they started the full-scale war. And since 2014, there was, and still there is, an foundation which was formed by Ukrainians who live here in Warsaw, Poland, and there were a lot of Ukrainians here. But the guys have created the United Foundation, which was formerly called the Foundation of Heroes of Maidan, because we had the revolution in Ukraine, where we kicked out Yanukovych because he is a criminal. Yeah, and since 2014, they started this foundation. So they were helping Ukrainian people with humanitarian help, but also they were helping our military, our army, with tactical help, tactical equipment. So if we're talking about the numbers, so with our initiative, we raised more than $62,000 since the beginning of our initiative, but United Foundation are way more effective and way better than we are. And we don't have updated numbers, but think just about it. So by the end of April, so even by the beginning of the April, so the 10th of April, they have provided, since the war has started, more than 3,050 tons of help to Ukraine. So those numbers are overwhelming. So I've been over there countless times in their office, and what I can say right now is that for 80 people, I usually show them as an example of the best CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment I've ever seen. So I've seen like a person finding the helmets, saying, "Okay, we don't have enough money." The money have flown by through some donations. The person said, "Okay, we have money, so I'm buying." Next day, as soon as it arrives to the office, it's shipped already to the border, where it is shipped to the right place that we needed in Ukraine. So those guys are amazing. Those guys are awesome, and the help that they provide is tremendous. So currently, they're focused on helping people who are fighting actually in Donbas region. So Donbas region, it's Donetsk and Lugansk, where the most of heat right now. So we really need your help, and we hope that you will donate generously as well. How you can donate, there are two simple ways. First one is PayPal. You can find the PayPal details on our website, and we will share it with you in our chat, and also on the Polish website, rzutka.pl, where it's also pretty easy to donate. I believe for Polish natives, it will be easier to donate even via Rzutka. We will also share the details about how you can make a bank transfer if it's going to be easier for you. And we hope you're going to help us and also have a great time with a great speaker. So, Anna, back to you.
Thank you
The
very much.
stage is yours.
Thank you very much. Thanks, guys, for introduction. Now I will then share my screen.
And I will launch a live stream to Facebook if you don't mind.
Right, sure, of course. Okay, let me just adjust some so I can see you. And now, guys, just a couple of administrational stuff. So if you are able to, please switch on your cameras, because it's easier for me to see your faces and to see whether you want to ask your question. And so this is one thing. Another one, because this group is pretty small and intimate, I think that we can do the question Q&A during the presentation. So if you have any question when I'm talking, please just raise your hand or just interrupt me. You know, like if we're in the real room sitting next to each other, we can just keep it interactive. So I don't want to bore you to death. Just ask your questions whenever you have them, or share your experience, because The things I'm going to talk about, I believe, are nothing like super new for you. I would like to really leverage your experience and what you have done previously, because I know that you are all very experienced professionals. And when I prepared for this webinar with guys from AgileWithUkraine, I talked to Andrei, we wondered what the topic should be. And actually what Andrei advised me that most of the community here are Scrum people. So we thought, okay, so maybe let's think what Scrum people, we call it Scrum Masters, but maybe more generally Scrum people can learn from Kanban method. So this is the topic that I'm going to talk about today. So just a couple of words about me. So who am I? I am people devotee. I usually, I say that I love people. And I think that the most horrible things in my personal life over a couple of previous months and years was COVID, when I was closed at home and I couldn't go out to people and just talk to them. So I had really like very, very bad moods over these 2 years. And when only were allowed to go out, I just took my laptop, I went to cafe and I just wanted to sit among people and just look at them, even if I couldn't talk to them. So I really love people. And I think that this is the essence of what I'm doing and why I'm doing this stuff, because Kanban also loves people. I'm Kanban passionate for a couple of years already, which I learned about Kanban kind of accidentally, just trying different things, doing project work, and Kanban was the one that clicked. So this is when I started to learn more about it, and this is when I actually sang. And now this is my way of working. And I'm photographer amateur. So this is the picture I took in Krakow. So if you come to Krakow, we have like one of the very famous bridges here. It's called Kładka Bernatka. And there are a lot of sculptures on this bridge, and you can just take this kind of pictures by yourself. I'm also, working with Kanban. I'm teaching Kanban, and as Andrei said, I'm product manager of something that's called Kanban Maturity Model. And this is the model of organizational maturity. So basically, this is something that we are developing to help organizations to work with Kanban. That's it in terms of intro. Now let's go to the meat. And if I asked you, okay, so maybe let's do this like warm-up question. When I say Kanban, what is your first reflection? I mean, like the first thought that comes to your minds. I say Kanban and you say?
Board.
Okay,
Yep.
board.
Visual board.
Okay, thank you.
University.
All right. Anything else? All right, so we have board, we have visualization, we have Kanban University. Good.
David is saying flow and Ivan is saying system as well.
Okay. So if we have something in the chat, please read it for me, because I don't see chat right now. Thank you. Very good. And all of these thoughts are, they are totally correct. But what I heard, and I didn't read, was visualization, was board. And this is usually in most of the cases, this is the first thing that people say. So I say Kanban, they say board or visualization. And that's why I decided I'm not going to talk about visualization today. I'm going to talk about the different things. Because guys, you do visualization. I know that. Visualization can have very different forms. It's just a matter of making things that we do in our heads visual. So what we are working with is the knowledge work. That the product is the product of our brain. Okay, we are using our fingers to maybe write the code or do something, but still the product is the product of the head. The user, the fingers are only to put it live. And that's why we need to manage this knowledge work, this intangible intellectual work. We need to see it somehow to manage it. That's why we visualize this work. That's why we take it outside of our head. We put it somewhere externally. And usually this is in the form of different boards. I have one back there on my wall. This is my personal one. The one that you see here comes from one of Kanban implementations, of course, pre-COVID, where people were sitting and they could put stickies on the board. Now you are using different online tools to manage your work. So no matter whether you do Kanban or not, usually use the boards to visualize work. So we'll skip this topic today. We'll talk about something else. And I really didn't want to make it like, presentation showing you slides. So I was thinking, how can I show you what Kanban is? I decided to take my case from a couple of years ago. So it was 2019, 2018, 19, and beginning of 2020, when I was product owner. And now, a small disclaimer, I was Scrum product owner back then, but it had nothing to do with Scrum. So I'm not going to teach you how to do Scrum because the way how we did Scrum was super pathological. I don't want you to learn about Scrum from me. So that's why it was kind of the code of Scrum on the waterfall, and probably you also know this stuff. So it didn't work for us. Scrum was not for us. We knew it, and we need to manage this work somehow differently. And this is when we learned about Kanban, and this is when we actually started to implement Kanban into this project. So I'm going to tell you about this project right now. There was a project, but the outcome was pretty tangible because we were focused on automating reports for our colleagues from finance team. And we started to do this project, and it took us a couple of months to really kick off with deployments. And at the beginning, we were like in this we had this agile spirit, yeah. So we'll do it incrementally, we'll do it in small iterations. We are going to deploy like small pieces of work. And then at the beginning of one of the meetings, I had these stakeholders meetings. I was asked to prepare Gantt chart. So I was like, okay, why do you need Gantt chart in agile projects? Guys, we have 2 years project. It was our budget. And you ask me to prepare deployment plan for 2 years from now. How? No, it doesn't matter, just do it. Okay, but how? It doesn't matter, just do it. I was keeping fighting for a couple of weeks, but these people paid me, so I had to do this Gantt chart eventually. So I prepared this Gantt chart. It was beautiful in Excel, colorful, with all of these small decorators showing when we are going to deploy. Of course, we didn't know when to deploy it, what we are going to deploy and when, but it didn't matter. I had to prepare it in Excel. Everyone was happy. Of course, after 2 weeks, I had to do it again because it was not actual anymore. So I kept preparing this Gantt chart, updating it every 2 weeks. But what we realized very soon is that we are not prepared at all for deployments. The infrastructure was not ready. Company was not ready. Our finance team was not ready. So we had a delay in starting about 6-7 months. And over the 7 months, I had to keep updating this Gantt chart, giving new deployment dates, and I had no idea what's going to happen. What was there was, we call it punctuation point. This is how we call it in Kanban world. So the punctuation point is the moment when your word is collapsing. And the punctuation point may be very different in terms of how heavy it is. So if you are dinosaurs, you are walking around air, you are eating either other dinosaurs, or maybe you are eating grass. You are living your life, and then suddenly, you look up and you see the comet hitting your planet. This is the punctuation point. Your life is going to change. I believe that most of you guys here, you also have your own punctuation points, not that far away in the past. So this is the moment when our life is changing. And as I said, these punctuation points can be bigger or smaller. In our small project, the punctuation point was the fact that we were pushed on one hand from our manager's side. On the other hand, we had to keep promising some dates, which we had no idea about. And it created a lot of stress and tension within the team. And this question, what can we really do about it? And 7 months in this project, being product owner, when I was asked all the time, when are you going to deliver? And I didn't know. I was sitting like, oh my God, this is hopeless. We are not going to do it. My colleague sent me this picture, colleague developer. And I have this picture, you know, until today, it was 2.5, no, it was more than 2.5 years ago. I have it here on the other wall, which says that, you know, this guy here, I never remember his name. He says, we only live once, Snoopy. And the Snoopy says, wrong, we only die once, we live every day. And when I, you know, have this downtime in my life, I look at this picture and I remember to live my life every day. And also this was kind of the avatar for our project, and it stayed the avatar for our project until the end. Okay, but we didn't deliver for 7 months. We were asked for the dates. We had to request progress, but there was no progress. So what we have learned over this time was deferring commitment. And this is the first lesson I would like to give you. And this lesson says, never commit early unless you know why. And for reason I put here these 2 rings, you probably know what these rings mean. This is, in some of the cultures, it's pretty heavy commitment for most of the cases for the rest of your life. So 2 rings, 2 people, and you make the commitment for the rest of your life. And when you make this commitment, usually you know why. And why may be different. The why may be related to love, very deep relationship. This why may be related to having unplanned children, or maybe even planned children. This why may be related to having, I don't know, a common mortgage for which you need to pay both equally. So the why may be different, but we never commit unless we know why. And it should work exactly the same at your work. And what I keep observing over these years, I'm working with different people around the world right now, especially teaching. When in one class, I'm having people from Peru through Japan, you know, Peru, Europe, Japan, Asia, everywhere. And they all tell the same stories. So it's not something that's, you know, exclusive to Poland or exclusive to Ukraine or maybe exclusive to Europe or US. No, people around the globe have the same problems. We commit too early. So we promise too early. Why we do so? I was looking for some studies around it, and I found one from 2015. So what scientists were looking at is our brain. And they were putting people in stressful situations, and the stress was related to uncertainty. So people were asked a question, and they had 3 scenarios. They either said, I don't know, or they said, I know, and they knew the answer, or they said, I know, but they didn't know answer. Of course, the ideal situation is that you know the answer and you give this answer. But then you have 2 other scenarios. So saying, I don't know, or saying, I'm giving the answer, but you don't really know the answer. And how do you think which one of them is more uncomfortable? Saying, I don't know, or giving wrong answer? Question to you. You need to unmute. This is the tricky Zoom part. And it's not exam, so don't worry.
Or you might use the chat as well.
Yes, you can use chat and Ade will read it for me. So you don't know or you give the wrong answer. Which is more uncomfortable for you?
Alona is writing than being wrong.
Okay.
So I might add from my part, yeah, for me, it's also more comfortable to be wrong. But throughout the years, I've learned to say, okay, my bad. Yeah. Anybody else, guys?
All right. So probably you are exceptional because what the scientists and this group of people that were tested, what they found out is that in most of the cases, we prefer to give wrong answer than say, I don't know. Example, when I was asked, okay, so when it will be done, I could say, I have no idea. but I knew that my managers probably won't be very happy about that. So I said, okay, it will be done in a month. So I have peace of mind for a month, and I will be worried about it in 1 month. Okay, and this is how it works in, unfortunately, most of the cases. So this is this difficult lesson that Kanban teaches us, is that we don't say, I will do it in a month if we have no idea. But what we answer, I need to defer commitment. I need to defer answering to this question just for a couple of more slides. So how does Kanban support this deferred commitment? So what you can see here on this picture is an example of a Kanban board. So we have some backlog of ideas, options, then we have column development ready, development test ready, testing, user acceptance testing, and deployment ready. And what you see here, between this backlog with ideas and development ready, there is this red thick line, and it says the first commitment point. This moment when we are moving items from backlog to this development ready, next, to do, whatever you call it, phase, is called replenishment. This is when we commit to what we are planning to do. It's not the moment when you say when you are going to do it. It's only commitment to what you are going to do. This is the moment when product owners, business analysts, product managers, so all these people left from the commitment point, meet with developers, testers, anyone working right from the commitment point. They sit together and they say, okay, on one hand, these product owners, product managers, they say, we know what it is. We understand that our customer needs that. We gathered all of the information possible. Dear developers, testers, please do it for us. And we promise that when you start working on it, we are not rejecting this item. We are not revoking this item from development. So this is one side of commitment. The other side of commitment, so developers, testers, the people who we call delivery system or delivery Kanban, they say, okay, we understand these requirements. We understand what you want us to do. We know that we are able to do it because we checked like technical feasibility. We have capacity to do it. And when we start, we'll deliver it. We will build it and it will be delivered. And this is two-side commitment to what we are going to build. Commitment in Kanban is a very, very serious point, and we treat it very seriously. So it's not something, let's do it, maybe we'll be fine. No, both sides are committing to what we are going to build. And this moment is called replenishment, when we are replenishing development ready next to do column with items from backlog. When I talk to people working with Scrum, something that is the feedback loop or meeting, which is the most close to this replenishment, is like sprint planning. So this is what you plan to do in the next sprint. Are there any questions at this point? Okay. One more thing which I didn't tell you, very basic rule in my training and meetings and workshops. When I ask this kind of question, close question, I expect yes, no, I don't care. Okay, so let's exercise it. Do you have any questions?
No.
Thank you very much. You are doing great. Okay, so let's move on. Second commitment point, we call it commitment to when. This is when you say when you are going to deliver. And the second commitment point is not that clear moment in time as it was for the first commitment point. It's somewhere around testing. If you have user acceptance testing, I would place it somewhere in the second half of UAT. And why is that? Because in the whole process of development, maybe design development, some unit testing, system testing, other testing, whatever you want to test, you are discovering more and more knowledge about this work item, products, whatever you build. And when you are in the testing, like in this late phases of testing, you've probably already discovered most of the problems. You've probably already found most of the bugs, defects, the ones that may affect potentially delivery date. So when you see that most of the problems is already discovered and you tested them, you fixed them, this is the moment when you can start planning delivery dates. And this is our second commitment point, commitment to when. This is where you say, I'm going to deploy this stuff on Saturday at 2 p.m. All right. So first commitment to what we are going to do. Second, commitment to when we are going to deliver. When we establish this two-phase commitment in our process of delivering stuff, we didn't need Gantt chart anymore because the communication with stakeholders was much more transparent. So first, together with them, because they were in our like product group, so it wasn't only me as product owner, also them as business stakeholders. So together with them, we decided what we do next. So they had this clarity that this is the next thing from the list of reports that we need to automate. This is the next report we are going to work on. So they had this clarity about what. And then we informed them about the progress and we informed them when delivery date was approaching, so they could also prepare themselves for these automations to come. And also it helps us to it helped us to stabilize the whole process around these two commitment points, because it gave us this kind of cadence, frequency in our delivery. Of course, it sounds very easy, but this question, okay, when it will be done, from each and every stakeholder didn't disappear. So even when we started with the first commitment point and we told them, okay, this is what we are going to do, and they say, okay, let's do this, they always asked, okay, but when it will be done? So we couldn't say, I don't know, maybe like some, game companies in Poland say it will be done when it's ready. I couldn't say that. But we had something to support information sharing. And this is now the third lesson that I would like to teach you. So the first lesson was defer commitment. The second one, organize your process around two commitment points. So commitment to what and commitment to what and commitment to when. The third lesson, how you can use your data to support answering your questions with confidence. So you maybe heard about or have seen this hashtag no estimates movements somewhere. It doesn't mean that, now I don't care about the dates, I'm going to work, it will be done when it's going to be done. So just don't ask me these questions because I'm working here, I'm developer, I'm product owner, I'm working here. No, it's not the point of this no estimates movement. It's about not wasting your time on spending, hours in the sessions when you are trying to guess, this is a keyword, when you are trying to guess how much time you will spend building something. And, recently working with one of my clients, for a year, I heard the word guesstimation. And when I hear the word guesstimation, it's working for me like this red color on the bull. I hate guesstimations from the bottom of my heart. So don't estimate, don't in that sense, don't try to guess how much time you are going to spend. Instead, use your data. And now answering this question, okay, when it will be done, we started to use lead time information. Question to you, dear audience, do you know what lead time is? Or cycle time? It's another name.
Yes.
Yes. And
Wonderful.
And David are also writing yes.
Okay, so anyone would like to explain what lead time or cycle time is? How do you understand that?
Are you also expecting answers on your open questions or only on closed questions?
If you
Any
say I don't,
instructions how to do it?
if you say
Yes,
I
no,
don't
that's
care, if you say I don't care, I will answer this question. Or maybe not. Okay,
Guys,
anyone?
please.
Okay, if you wish, I can explain.
Thank you very much. Go ahead.
Well, thank you.
Oh, so the lead time is when is just from the first point of commitment
Mhm,
till the end, and the
mhm,
cycle time is from the point you started actually working the development process
mhm.
till finish.
All right. Okay, that's good. The definition is good. So basically, lead time is from the moment when we start to the moment when we finish, and that's the end of the definition of lead time. The normal problem with lead time is to define where is start and where is the end, because many people have different definition of start, even within one team. You know, when I'm doing classes for a team of people working together, and we come to this point, and I ask them, okay, so please tell me when you start working. You know, if there's 12 people, I can have 12 definitions within one team working together all the time for years. So we need to define when is start and where is start and where is end. But when we know that, then the definition of lead time is very easy. And this is what Ivan said. From the moment when we start to the moment when we finish. And usually we define start as this first commitment. So when we move items from backlog to next already. And end is maybe either when we finish the process on our side, so development testing, or if we think about the customer lead time, it may be when customer receives deployment. So basically we need to define it. And then when we have this set of data, so we start collecting information about our delivery. So for each and every item, we need to collect at least 2 data points, start and end, start and end, start and end for each of them. And please, if you start doing it, please be persistent. So start and end date are 2. If you are going to collect any data points, please collect this. And then you just deduct start and from end date and you have lead time. And then we place this data on so-called histogram. And histogram is something that you see here. How to read it, just to make sure that we are all on the same page. When you look horizontally on x-axis, this is your lead time. So 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, 4 days of lead time. Vertically on y-axis, you have the frequency. So for example, if we look at this one, we can see that out of this whole set of data, more or less 52, 53 items were completed within 1 day. Then 30 items were completed within 2 days. 17, 18 items were completed within 3 days. So this is how we read it. Is that clear?
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yes.
And then we have a couple of data points here, which are meaningful to us to read this set of data. So we have a mean. Mean is arithmetical average. So the average in this set of data is 6 days, which means that on average, we deliver in 6 days. Then there is a second, the orange one is 85th percentile. 85% means 6 out of 7. So in 6 out of 7 cases, we deliver in 10 days or less. In 1 out of 7 cases, we deliver in 11 days or more. We usually say more, we never say 100%, because you never know 100%, okay? You never know how bad you can be in terms of lead time. So don't use 100%, just we say 11 or more. And there is also this 98th percentile, which that's why we don't say 100, we say 98%, which is almost 100. And in this case, it's 15 days or less will be delivered with the certainty of 98%. And now what you do? Now coming back to your first commitment point. When we have this first commitment point and we say, okay, this is what we are going to do. And they ask us, okay, when it will be done, we come back to them saying, for example, On average, we do this stuff in 6 days. For 85% certainty, you will get this stuff in 10 days. 98% of certainty, you will get this stuff in 15 days. And this is the discussion we started to have. And what is additional element of the lead time is that when you have different so-called work item types, so basically, in most of the cases, your work is not homogeneous. You are working on different elements, like even looking at this development world. We have, for example, new features, we have defects, we have improvements, we have change requests. So different types of work, we call them work item types. For each of these work item types, you collect your data separately. And then you know that in your backlog, a defect appeared. And you know that historically, your defects are solved on average in, say, 2 days. So when there is a defect and you start working on defects and someone asks you, okay, when it will be done? You say, oh, these defects, we do them historically in 2 days on average, or in 4 days, 85%. And when you have a new feature, you may have situation that for new features, you need 2 months. So 85th percentile is 2 months. And this is what you communicate to your stakeholders when they ask you when it will be done. So you don't give the date of deployment, you give the lead time. And you give the date of deployment when you are approaching the second commitment point. So it helped us to even provoke this, it started to provoke discussion around the first commitment point, because what happened? These guys from finance, they had delivery cycles. So for some clients, they had to deliver every month. For some clients, they had to deliver every quarter. For some of them, they had to deliver every half year. So if we knew that when we start working on something, it takes us in 85% of cases, say 2 months, we knew that if we start working on a new report, we'll be able to deliver it in 2.5 months. So if there was a report which required, say, quarterly delivery, we knew that we should start it more or less 2 to 3 months before this final delivery, so they can have it before the next quarter. And then, for example, if we had situation that something had to be sped up, then we also had this discussion. Okay, guys, in most of the cases, like 6 out of 7 cases, we do it in 2 months. But they said, okay, but we need to have it earlier. And then we had this discussion. Okay, so if you want to have this one earlier, okay, we can focus on it. And we can, put all hands on deck and try to deliver it earlier. But then we don't do something else. And this is how this data set, how this first and second commitment point help you to discuss with your stakeholders, with people who are paying you or who are your internal clients. Any questions at this point?
No.
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 Alrighty. So I didn't warn you. I am metrics freak. Like, I love metrics. So more metrics now. But we'll look at real data.
It sounds consistent with Kanban, right?
Yes, I hope so.
So people and metrics.
I'm metrics. But then I go to cafe and then I'm people. I don't know.
Are you measuring these people with metrics?
Let's keep it for a separate webinar, okay? I can tell you how to use this information for your project.
Thank you so much.
Okay, guys, but I would like to show you the real data, like real from real life, because the one that I showed you a moment ago was just from the training. So we are going to look at 3 metrics which may be useful for you doing even doing Scrum. So we'll have lead time histogram, we'll have throughput and flow efficiency, and someone talked about flow. So when I say Kanban, you say flow. Yes, Kanban is about flow. So everything is flowing at least smoothly through the process, and we are all happy. But let's start with the lead time. So what I'm showing to you in the couple of next slides will be the set of data from one of the teams I was working with. And if you look at the right hand corner, that up one, you have the dates. So this is for 3 months, from 27th January through 27th of April. So I'm showing you data for 3 months. And this is the team that I worked with for a couple of months already. So we did a lot of cleanup work already in their data. So I'm showing you kind of the final state. And also that's why I have chosen this team, because it's easy to follow their metrics and their process. I also work with the other teams in the same company, but I didn't have yet, that clear process for them. So that's why I have chosen this one. So what you see here is lead time distribution again, which looks a bit differently than the other one. And this was support / maintenance team. So they were working with internal clients, also external clients, infrastructure stuff, this kind of usually smaller requests, but also they had some other bigger requests too. And what you see here is the lead time distribution. And there are also these dotted lines, which show these important points on the lead time distribution that we can look at. So the first one is median. And I didn't talk about median. A median is a 50th percentile. So this is your 50-50. So in their case, median was at 1 day, because when we look at the support requests, and this is basically the lead time histogram for support requests only, they delivered a lot of them within 1 day. So rather smaller pieces of work. So there, yes?
May I ask a small question? You
Of course.
said not for the first time, lead time histogram,
Yes.
so not the cycle time.
Yes, but here we treat it the same. And I know that a lot of people is using cycle time. In Kanban, cycle time is something a bit different, but I don't want to confuse you, because the way how I use the lead time is the same as cycle time in
so it's from the moment of commitment, or
yes,
from the moment of creation?
Of commitment.
From the moment of commitment,
yes. So it's without backlog. Yeah, so lead time, cycle time, here you can use it exchangeably. So we have the cycle time and we have median, yes, so 50th percentile. You can also see here that it says mode. So mode is the value which is the most frequently occurring. So when you open lead time distribution, the first thing you see is mode. So this is this value in the peak. Then we have the mean, which I talked about. So in their case, it was almost 7 days on average. 85th percentile was on 16 days. 98th percentile was on 49 days. You can also see that there are some outliers here. Outliers are these items in so-called tail. Yeah, so we have, I call this distribution elephant. So you have the back of the elephant and the long tail of the elephant. Yeah. So this elephant has pretty long tail, and these single items even after 85th percentile till the end are outliers. And now the question that I put here, how to use this information in retro? So again, I'm talking about most of people. If you are doing it differently, don't take it, personally. In most of the cases, when I go to retrospective, this retrospective is not retrospective. It's like therapy session. So people are sitting for an hour complaining, talking about how terrible the world is, how these business stakeholders are horrible, how they don't listen to us, and this product owner, he doesn't know anything. Oh my God, my word is cruel and disgusting. And they leave meeting, and they meet in another 2 weeks, and they keep repeating the same. This is waste of time. No, it's retrospective is not therapy session. Retrospective is there to improve something. So usually we start with some qualitative objectives for retrospective. So, out of this list of 100 terrible things that happened to your life in the recent weeks, please choose one and try to improve it, and establish some action points to improve it. So this is where we start. But when we have a bit more mature processes and a bit more mature people in these processes, we can also start using data. So when you start collecting data, don't collect it just for the sake of collecting. Start using it. And this is what they start to do here. So when you take this kind of lead time distribution for your retrospective, you can now start analyzing it and trying to improve some very specific things. So in this retrospective, you don't look at this 1 day, you don't look at 7 days, you don't even look at the 16 days. This is not important at this moment, because this is like most of your items is done within 1 to 16 days, 85%, 6 out of 7. What we need to analyze in retrospective are these outliers, because the outliers are the ones that make your process unpredictable. Because if your client comes to you and asks, okay, when it will be done, based on this set of data, you can say it will be done today or in 3 months. Choose the better option, dear client. Yeah. So that's why we don't like these outliers. These outliers make our process unpredictable. And this is the 4th lesson of Kanban. Predictability is the most important characteristic or aspect of the process you should focus on. And in Kanban, we don't start with speed. We start with predictability. So first we make our process predictable. When it's predictable, then we start improving the time to delivery. But first we trim the tail. So gentlemen probably know what trimming the beard means. So here we are trimming the tail. So we are trying to cut the tail. By cutting the tail, I mean improving work to avoid situations that created outliers for us. So you basically look at these outliers, you see, this situation, this situation. Okay, so what we can do to avoid this situation in the future? Clear?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good, thank you. Throughput, also called delivery rate. It's sort of velocity. So basically how many items you deliver in a period of time. And again, here you can see the data for 3 months. So this is how they delivered. If you look at this pie chart, you can see that they have support requests, some internal production, customer production, network items. So the support requests are the smaller items, the easy one. And the other 3 are the bigger items where they had to spend more time, the lead time looked differently. And when I work with, not necessarily Scrum teams, when I work with teams working in sprints, because they are not always Scrum teams, they are just pretending doing Scrum, but they have sprints. So when we talk about planning for sprint, lead time is not enough. Lead time is usually enough when you don't have sprints and the work is flowing and you just plan for the work that is coming from your backlog to your next, but you don't have like time box where you need to clean the board. For the teams that are working in sprints, also this throughput, so delivery rate, is useful because it tells them how many items they have completed over a period of time. So over a week, over 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever sprints they have. And then they can compare sprint by sprint and they can start planning in terms of number of items for the next sprint. So if we look here, we have 1 week intervals on this picture at the bottom. So this is what you can basically analyze. Again, from the predictability perspective, and of course, if system allows for that, it's good to have stability. So not like this, that you have like up, down, up, down, up, down all the time, but rather stable delivery. And again, when you start doing that, you won't be perfect from day one. Of course you won't. But we look at this data, trying to improve with every single period of time that we are looking at it. Questions to throughput? Okay, so that's the second metric that you can collect. And the third one, I think my favorite one, the flow efficiency. And I will tell you why it's my favorite one. Their process here was very, very basic. Really, they didn't have nothing complicated, but you can easily translate it to any other process that you have. So basically, they had the backlog of work. When they started working on something, it was moved to in progress. Then that they worked on these items, and when they didn't know the answer, they came back to the requesters. For example, to me, I was one of their clients. Yeah? So, hey, could you please create this project in Jira for me? And when they didn't know details, they came back to me. And they changed the status of work to waiting for information. And when I didn't answer for some time, they changed the status of this work to stopped. What we can read from this pie chart, that 50% of work is work in progress. 50% of work is waiting, which on one hand is terrible, because how you can translate it? If from the moment when they started to the moment when I received answer to, or something was done for me, was 10 days, then I could have this item in 5 days if I answered immediately to the request. So actually half of lead time. But they had to wait for me. And it's not only that they have to wait for me and I'm the one suffering. It's also, you know, annoying for people doing work. I think that you can relate to it when you have items which are blocked, when you are sending requests for questions, some information, some additional stuff, and you have to wait. And, you know, these items are on your board over and over and over again. And, you know, you need to move it from one sprint to another. It's super annoying. We don't like this stuff as human beings. We like to have things closed, not open. And also for them, if you know you are working on 10 items and 30 others are open because you are waiting for information, this is annoying. And then your clients are, oh my God, you are so slow. It took you again 2 weeks and you could do it in 3 hours. But you know, this 50%, which you see here, is amazing result. Do you know what's average? We call it flow efficiency. It's 50% flow efficiency. You know what's average flow efficiency in software engineering or software development?
30-50.
Any other numbers? We can
around 10-15%.
Okay, this is the moment when we can guess.
20.
All right, okay, so I have 3 numbers and you say 10, 15, 20, 30. You are still very generous. It's 3 to 5%. You know what it means, 3 to 5%? If you have flow efficiency of 5%, it means that 95% of your time item is blocked, waiting, dependent on something. To give you some other numbers from the same company. Defect, lead time, 85 days, so almost 3 months. Time spent, 3 hours. For God's sake, you were working on it for 3 hours. Why it took 3 months to deliver it? Probably it was waiting for something, or there was multitasking, someone switched work. From the client perspective, I don't care whether you spend on it 3 hours or 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 months. I got my work in 3 months. Another example, lead time, 256 days. 256 days, which is a lot of months. And the effective work time was 4 days, 2 days in development, 2 days in testing, 252 days waiting. I came back to them, guys, what is this? Why? Tell me why. This one. Okay, we were waiting for the clients that they had to approve requirements. Did anyone contact with clients? Nope. Why? So this is what we learn from lead time. This is what we learn from flow efficiency. Because in what I keep observing, that people focus on how to deliver fast, how we can write our code faster, how we can, you know, faster move our fingers on the keyboard. Before you start improving your effort time and how fast you are writing code, testing whatever you do effectively, first remove this waste from your process. And you will see how effective you might be without being faster. This is what I mean by predictability. So this was the next lesson from Kanban. I stopped counting. Any questions to flow efficiency or throughput?
No, but I would just like to add better communication. Better communication improves flow.
Yes, yes, totally. And this is basically what I advise them here in this team. So they really couldn't do too much to improve their work, this effective working time. I told them, okay, guys, now take this data that you have. They collected it over a couple of months and go to people that you work with, show them this data. Hey, dear colleagues, because these are their colleagues, dear colleagues, half of our time, we are waiting for information from you. So if you want to get your work done faster, maybe just talk to us. Come back to us with information. Yes, or quick phone call. Exactly. Yeah, so sometimes we just don't talk to each other. So I totally agree with you. All right, and last but not least, limit work in progress. And I usually start with that because limiting work in progress is the most important thing in Kanban method, not visualization. People relate Kanban to visualization because you see visualization basically. So when we talk about Kanban, we see boards. This is very important practice. But the most important practice without which Kanban method doesn't exist is limiting work in progress. This is where everything starts. But I decided to finish this discussion with you with limiting work in progress, giving this very basic example. So we have a team here, team of 3 people. They are juggling these balls. There is 9 of balls in the process. So we can think about them as team of having 9 items in progress. Now there are a couple of elements here on this picture. So first of all, there is a capacity of the system. What is the capacity of this system in this particular moment? What number of items? It's not a tricky question.
9 items.
Yes, 9 items. Thank you. That's correct. So the capacity of the system in this particular moment is 9 items. So this is how much we can do. There is also capability. And capability is skill set. So how experienced they are, what they can do, how well they can do it. So if you replace one of these people here with me, the capability will drop dramatically because I can juggle 2 balls and it's not really juggling. I'm just, dropping one and moving the other one to my second hand. So this is my capability in terms of juggling. I'm terrible. So if you replace one of these people here with me, their capability will drop down, but also their capacity will drop down because I'm not capable to come up with this number of items. And think about it when you have, for example, a new person in the team. Your capacity is still the same. You may think this way. So this junior developer, senior developer, they both can work, say, 8 hours a day. Capacity is the same, but their capability may be different. And capability not necessarily means that someone is junior and someone is senior. Both of them may be seniors, but someone is new. So this person, it's not only, for example, learning the coding. This person needs to also learn the culture of the company, the ways of working, some specific of the process. So these are all of these elements that create and build a good process. So that's why when you are replacing or when you are adding a new person to existing process, capability will drop for sure, and hence the capacity may also drop for a moment until this new person will learn and experience this process. But so this was one element. So capacity and capability to understand in the context of the team structure and chemistry. But there is also another thing which is now related to limiting work in progress. So we have this audience there, a lot of people sitting in the audience. So let's imagine that in this audience, you have product owners, project managers, product managers, maybe some internal customers, your colleagues, your team leader. And you know, you are this team of 3 juggling these 9 items, your capacity is 9. And you have the product owner comes to you and says, hey guys, there is a defect in production. You will do it, it's small one. You can do it, yeah? And he's, you know, dropping like 1 additional ball to this process. So now they have 10. Okay, they can still manage it, that's fine. There is project manager coming, hey guys, there's change request coming from client, and client is so important, we need to deal with this change request. And see, another one, 11th one, to the process. You can do it, you will be fine, you can do it. You are great. Your system has limited capacity. No matter how great you are, how experienced you are only people, human beings. And you have limited capacity, and your system has limited capacity. Although you may have some buffer, or 1-2 times, you can, you know, organize yourself, motivate yourself, and do more. You cannot sustain it. This kind of process, this kind of situation is not sustainable. You cannot just keep adding additional items to this process, because at one point this process will collapse. There is no chance it's sustainable. Just keep adding. And that's why Kanban limits work in progress. Limiting work in progress is telling what is the capacity of your system, of your process, keeping this consciousness of this capacity. And when someone asks you to go above this capacity, you don't say, no. You say, let's talk about it. If this one is really so important, what other thing is less important? Or maybe you can use what we call different classes of service. So there may be items which you have like consciously, which you put to your process, which are lower importancy. In a situation that there is something more important will appear, and then you can, you know, shelve this one for a moment to do something else. So there are a couple of tricks that you can use to juggle these items in your process. But when you establish these work in progress limits, when you are conscious of these work in progress limits of your process, then when anyone wants to add something more to your system, you can start talking about it. Because in many cases, when you have this discussion, you will just end up with moving this one additional stuff that had to be done right now just to backlog, because actually it can wait another week. Any questions to limiting work in progress? Ivan.
I would just like to add that
yes. David and then Ivan, okay?
putting a limit to work in progress also speeds up delivery.
Yes. Yes, that's a bit counterintuitive, but that's true. It's mathematical true. It's called Little's law. So it's your work in progress limits. When you divide work in progress limits by delivery date, you got lead time. So basically, if you have a constant or consistent delivery rate, and you keep increasing work in progress limit, you keep increasing items in process, your lead time is longer. So it's math, not magic. Thank you for that. Ivan?
Yes, thank you. So the question is in terms of the metrics. So if we imagine that we throw the 10th ball to this system, and the business said that you can remove this one because this is has the lowest priority.
Okay.
How do you manage metrics in this case? I mean, you were like tracking this issue from the start to this point, and now where you move this issue? I mean, are you keeping it in the system or
on the board? I usually keep them on the board, so they are blocked or they are moved to waiting area to visualize that this item was already committed to. So we committed to this item. We already started working on it. The clock started ticking. So there is no excuse, unless you reject this item totally. So the clock started ticking, and then what will happen to this item? It will be here in the tail, in the end. But you will know, so now it will be your lesson, yeah? So we committed to the item, we started to work on it. Then someone from business came to us and said deprioritize it. And when you finally delivered it, it had very long lead time. So it will be here in the table. And now what do you do with this information? Because if we have this situation, it means that there is something wrong with our first commitment point. Because in the first commitment point, it's not only commitment from the development, so downstream Kanban, delivery Kanban. It's also commitment from people on the left from commitment point, that when you, developers, testers, start working on it, we are not going to stop your work because we know what we want you to do. So this is the situation that there is something to improve in terms of the first commitment and what we want to deliver.
Okay, thank you for the answer. So we are keeping this item until it's rejected. We do not put it back to the backlog, right?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, you can, but then you lose the track of what really happened.
Yes. And if you don't mind, the last question.
Sure, of course.
So in case if you get the new guy, let's say developer in your like already established Kanban system, so what do you do with WIP limits? Do you adapt them accordingly or not?
It depends how you establish work in progress limits, because there are different ways how you can do it. The easiest way to establish your first commitment point is to do it per person. So for example, I say, okay, my limit is 2. Yeah? Even you say my limit is 3, someone else says my limit is 4, and someone is okay, mine is also 3. So everyone has her own work in progress limit. This is if people didn't have a chance to work with WIP limits, this is how you can start. The one that I've shown to you over here. So you have work in progress limits on the top of the columns. It's something a bit more, maybe not complicated, but if someone never worked with WIP limits, establishing these numbers for activity is difficult. People can really spend the whole meeting discussing about whether it should be 5 or 4 or 3. So that's why this is the best way to do it, but it can be difficult for start. So if we have situation of a new person in our process with this kind of design, with work in progress limits per activity, then probably you would need to adjust these WIP limits, or you can just let system to give you feedback. Because this new person will be, this new person will create something what we call stressor. So stressor is the situation that makes your process, your system uncomfortable in that sense that something is changing. Something is changing and now we need to adjust. So it can be anything, really anything. In this case, it can be a new person joining our team. And we can start adjusting these WIP limits. So for example, increasing them to reflect the situation that there is a new person, we have higher capacity. But we always should be very conscious of what's happening to our lead time. Because as David said, we have, if we increase WIP limits and nothing changes with delivery rate, then our lead time will also increase. So that's why these 3 things, delivery rate, work in progress limits, and lead time need to be in balance. So now, coming back to your question, we have new person. This person is still learning, so probably I wouldn't adjust WIP limits immediately. I would see what is the feedback from our system in terms of the lead time. Or also in terms of something what's called starving the process. So if you see the situation that you have one more person, this person is very capable, and you are finding yourself in the situation that you don't have anything to work on, which is called system starvation, you need to increase WIP limits. Because now what happens, you didn't change WIP limit, your delivery rate increased, and now your lead time started to rapidly decrease, or you just don't have items to work on. But if you see that your delivery rate is not changing and you increased WIP limits, then your lead time will start to grow. So that's why these 3 elements need to be observed together, and you need to adjust your system to keep it in balance. Does it answer your question?
Yes, pretty clear and precise. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
No, thank you.
Anyone else? Thank you. Okay, so last 2 slides. Okay, something that I wanted to announce. So this is the book, and I can also show you this book in this small window in Zoom. I don't know whether you see me. So this is how this book looks on the.
Yeah, we can see.
You can see. Okay, so it has 500 pages, so it's pretty heavy stuff. But this book will be available. Sorry. This is Kanban Maturity Model. So this is my baby in terms of I'm product manager of this stuff. And this book was written by our 2 wonderful authors, David Anderson and Theodora Bożewa. And this is the newest, the most fresh knowledge from the Kanban. It's the book that helps mostly coaches, consultants working with organizations to grow this organization. So this is the model of organizational maturity. And this book will be available for in auction that Andrei and Artem are organizing. So you can fight for it. You will have special dedication and from authors, from David and Theodora. And for the person who will, win this auction, we will organize sending it to you. So we don't know the details yet, but I guess that Andrei, Artem, you will announce it very soon.
We will announce it pretty soon, and observe our social media. For sure is going to be there, so subscribe. Yep.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
Probably it will be posted in social media, and you can put your bet with comment, and the most powerful bet will earn the book, and we will put this money on foundation as usual.
Yes. Okay, so this is one thing. So thank you very much, guys, for that. And thank you. Big thank you from me. Big heart from me to you, everyone who decided to spend this evening or whatever time of day it is for you, listen about Kanban, and I hope it was useful. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
Yeah, of course it was useful, and it was nicely presented by you, so thank you so much, and thank you for your support and your time this evening for our initiative and our guests.
Yeah, we have a couple of more minutes for questions, so we encourage you to ask as many questions as possible.
And I'll stop streaming, so you will be more open to ask questions. If you want, we can even stop recording. Or we can move back to that question about metrics and people.
We can. I mean, I don't measure people, but I can tell you how to use it.
All right.
Let me, you need to give me half minutes because I need to find supporting slides for that. I have slides. I always have slides.
So it's a common question. It's a common question, though,
yes,
right?
it comes every time, of course. I always have slides. Okay, I got it. So I'm sharing the slides right now, but it will be a bit nerdy knowledge, okay? So please stay with me.
Go ahead.
So first of all, before I start sharing, the book is in Polish, but maybe you know the guy. The guy, yes, and you probably know the title of the book. Black Swan, yes. Okay, so if you know very well what Black Swan is, now tell me what the Black Swan is, and it's not the movie.
It's kind of a swan, but black.
Okay, and why? Why is it important swan?
I don't know, but what is really happening now in Ukraine, so Black Swan matters.
Is it Black Swan? I wouldn't say so.
Yeah?
No, it's not. Okay, so I will tell you what is Black Swan and why what happens in Ukraine is not Black Swan.
Okay, please do.
So Black Swan is maybe just a very short story. It was in Australia. So when people discovered Australia, which was always there, but actually some others, Europeans had to discover it. We always, as humanity, we thought there are only white swans. So it was like dogma. There are only white swans. And when people traveled to Australia, they realized that no, there is also a black swan in Australia, living in Australia. And it was like, oh my God, how it could happen? Black swan in the world. And from that moment, we call black swans events. So this is the name of the event, which is totally unpredictable. So you couldn't know it's going to happen. It happened, and it had huge consequences, huge. So that's why I'm saying that what happens in Ukraine is not a black swan, because you guys are dealing with this stuff for many years already. So people expected that it may happen.
Okay, let's call it gray.
Okay, it can be gray swan. That's fine. I will write to Nassim Nicholas Taleb that he needs to write a new book. And so I'm talking about it because these examples that I'm going to give here come from his book. So it's not my idea. So I will share now just 2 slides, so don't worry, maybe 3. So I'm not sure whether you know this gentleman here. His name is Robert Wadlow, and he died already. But by far he was, and still is in the annals, the tallest person in the world. So 2 meters, 72 centimeters.
Wow.
Yeah, this is the average lady on this picture of him. So now let's think about the stadium full 1,000 people in the stadium. We put random 1,000 people in the stadium. And when we look at this population of 1,000 people, their weight, their size will be very similar across the whole population. And it will have very limited variation. So for example, if we talk about the size, so how tall we are, maybe it will be somewhere between 150 to 190 with some, of course, with some variations, but the variation is probably between 150, 190 for most of these people. And even if you put the gentleman here in this population of 1,000 random people, his size, so how tall he was, doesn't affect the whole population, because he will be just one small drop in this sea of people. But then we have another situation. So we have the same stadium, but now in the stadium, we put 1,000 book authors, random book authors. And the total number of books sold will be most probably less than 300,000. So total books sold by this 1,000 authors. And this is based on like average Amazon results. Do you recognize this lady on the picture? What did she write?
Harry Potter.
Yes, this is J.K. Rowling. She wrote Harry Potter. As of 2018, she sold over 500 million books of Harry Potter. Probably now it's higher. And if we put this lady in the stadium full of random book authors, she will affect the population very, very heavily. And now why I'm talking that it's nerdy stuff, because now 2 nerdy words, so mediocristan and extremistan. The situation with size and weight of people is situation of mediocristan. So this is when most of our items falls into very limited spread of variation, and there is only one outlier sitting out there. Really, no matter how huge it is, it doesn't affect us too much. The second situation is so-called extremistan. So the spread of variation is very huge, and the outlier is very huge, and it's affecting the whole population. Why am I teaching about it in Kanban classes? Because now if we look back, to our lead time distribution, which was, oh my God, yeah, it was here. This situation is situation of extremistan. Situation of extremistan is situation with a very fat, long tail distribution. So this is where our spread of variation is not like for human size or weight, but the spread of variation is not like that. Spread of variation is like that. Yeah, I see that I'm going outside the screen. And what we are trying to achieve, we try to achieve this boring, predictable, boring mediocristan for our lead time and for our data. So now coming back to the beginning of the story, when I'm sitting in a cafe and looking at people and their size and weight, I like them being in mediocristan, and I like my data being in mediocristan, because it means that our world is boring, predictable, And when we are asked a question, we know what to answer with confidence. In situation with extremistan, like here, you are answering that your item will be delivered today or in 3 months, which is still pretty cool because I also saw set of data like between today and 3 years.
Yeah.
Are you satisfied with this story?
I am surprised with this story. And I put my
Incredible.
expectation quite in a normal mode, so I'm over-satisfied. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Do you have any other questions? Sorry?
I second that. I second what Artem said, yes. I agree.
Because it was very interesting sequence, you know. You started from Nassim Taleb, then this tall guy, and then John Rowling, and then you somehow connected to meeting with people in cafe. So yeah, I like your style.
Okay, good. Thank you very much. Do you have any other questions? Comments, doubts, anything you would like to share? 3, 2, 1. Ivan.
Oh, we have a hand.
3 to 1, 3 to 1, Ivan. Okay.
Yeah, sorry guys, the last one, the third one. So what tools do you use to visualize the metrics? For example, like lead time or something like that.
Okay. Excel. No. No, not Excel. I don't know what you use right now. Yes, sticky notes are very good ones. I'm using the tool, or what I'm recommending to use is Nave, Nave. Why is that? Because there are some tools which are designed to do Kanban, for example, Kanbanize or Swift Kanban. But most of companies are using Jira or Azure DevOps or Trello, this kind of stuff. And these are not the tools to do Kanban. Okay, they are just supporting some basic Kanban board. Oh, thank you very much, Artem. Yes, this is the one. So these are the tools supporting visualization, but not to do Kanban. Like let's call it by the book. And also the metrics that are built in there are so. And this Nave stuff is something that you can like plug into your tools like Jira, Azure DevOps, Trello, Asana, something else. So you just link this Nave to, for example, Jira, and it downloads data every hour. And it presents them in this ready format. So everything I've shown to you, this real data, they come from Nave. So these were, of course, only examples. There is many more of them. No advertisement here. I just recommend it because I really like this tool.
I'm gonna add. Okay. So Anna mentioned that those are not the tools to do Kanban, to use Kanban. They're also not the tools to use Scrum.
Okay, thank you.
As well.
So not the tools to use normal, adequate product development.
Okay.
You want to collaborate inside the team.
There is hope, at least for Kanban and Jira. So there is a group of guys from Kiev who are creating
some
plugin, yeah, kind of.
Probably browser plugin, yeah, for Chrome browser, not for Jira.
For Jira.
Because I've seen several browser plugins and it works better than all Jira plugins.
Sorry, no, this is no embarrassing moment. I have no idea. They say it's for Jira, so I trust them. And so we are working with them to have these things done. Of course, now we're looking at the situation that we had to slow down. But I hope that I'm in contact with them, and I hope that we'll be able to pick up this work soon. Yeah. So what they created already is looking pretty well. Yeah.
And what do you think about Kanbanize? Is the same as Jira?
No, it's much better for Kanban. It's much better because Kanbanize is is designed from scratch to do Kanban. So and it's very nice tool. I mean, it's very user friendly. I used it. I stopped using it because for me it's too huge. I probably use like 10% or even less of functionalities. So for me it's easier to do whiteboard, but for more than for the team plus, Kanban is really great, especially when you want to show some dependencies, some like portfolio product things, product management. Kanban is very nice.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right, cool.
All right.
Okay. So Thank you very much. Thank you all for
Thank
being
you.
here. Thank you, Anna, for a great presentation, great topic, a lot of
Thanks.
insights. And yeah, follow us soon. We're gonna announce the event that's gonna take place next week. Yeah, so we will be very, very happy to see you all over there.
Thank you very much, guys. Thanks for everything you are doing and everyone here for supporting. That's great. I keep my fingers crossed for all of you.
Quite soon. Quite
Thanks
soon
a
we will
lot.
celebrate together.
Thank you so
in
much.
Kiev.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank
Take
you,
care.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Subscribe to our channel. Click on like button.
Bye-bye.
See you.
Bye bye.